Good evening, leaf lovers, and thank you so much for joining me tonight to learn more about the IEP process. This is part one of the IEP process. Part two will be held on next Tuesday, February 24th at 8 p.m., same location. I will send out a link for that. And at the end of this, you can feel free to email me and I can email you the link directly versus you having to go look for it on our social media pages. Okay? So, once again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to join Leaf Learning Center to learn more about the IEP process. It is my hope that the information shared here tonight will guide you as you begin your special education journey. Again, this is not all inclusive, so if there's something of more detail that you need, I would advise you to consult your local school district and they can really give you a more hands-on experience for your particular IEP case. Okay? So, as I stated, this is part one. So we're only going to discuss the first two components of the IEP process. There are five in total, but today we're only going to discuss the first two. Okay. So let's begin with the basics about what is special education. Okay. So special education is used by the law to describe special programming created to meet the needs of a child that has a special learning need or disability. As you see, I have the word disability in parentheses. Okay, I have that in parentheses because my personal philosophy of education does not care to use that word. I personally focus on the ability of the child and what the child can do. Okay, I only give attention to what the child cannot do when it is necessary. And when it is necessary is when we're working on things such as eating, restroom skills, social skills, communication skills, and I still don't focus on them altogether. It is just at those times when I have to acknowledge a child's limitations. Okay, so the goal of a special education program is to enhance the child's quality of life. Therefore, I focus on what they can do. Okay. Special education laws. Okay, there are many special education laws, but the most common law that you will hear throughout the entire IEP process and your child's total education and academic career is IDEA. Okay, IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act. Okay, so IDEA has defined 13 categories of special education. Okay, and in order to qualify for special education services, your child must fall in the category of one of those 13 special education needs. Okay, those needs can vary from autism to a visual impairment, a hearing impairment, speech and language impairment, TBI. Any of those will qualify your child to receive special education services, therefore receiving an IEP. Okay. So because of IDEA, all youth with special needs diagnosis, they're provided with free and appropriate education. Okay, that's because of that law IDEA. Okay, so what this means is if your child is taken to their local school that is appointed by the district and the school cannot serve your child because of their special learning need, then the school is responsible for placing your child at another school that can serve them better and paying for it. So this won't be of any funds to out from you. The school district will pay for that. Okay? This only applies to public schools. This does not apply to private schools. My understanding, private schools actually do not have to um, assist youth that have special learning needs. It's not something that they have to do by law. Many do, but they don't have to. Okay, so that is why this only applies to public schools. Okay, IEP versus a 504 plan. Okay, the 504 plan comes from Section 504 of the American with Disabilities Act, and this is based on a civil rights law, whereas IDEA is an educational law. A child who receives services under the 504 does not benefit from the same mandates as a child who receives special education services under IDEA. So this does not make the 504 plan any less important. They just do two different things. Okay, so a child that receives accommodations under a 504 plan may not need as extensive services and an individualized program in order to meet their needs. They may just need some accommodations to be more comfortable in the school setting or to be able to take tests and things like that. So an example of an accommodation under a 504 plan would be a ramp for a child that has a handicap or a wheelchair. Okay, and the guardrails. Those are all accommodations made by the 504 plan. And if you look further, you can see the portion of the 504 plan that would apply to that. Okay. So also with an IEP, two children may have the same diagnosis, but no two IEPs are the same. There may be similarities, but none of them are the same because a special education evaluation determines if a student is eligible for services, and if so, what programs are appropriate. So you could have two children with an autism diagnosis, but their IEPs will be totally different because their skills are different. You know, they're going to have a different program. So just because you and your neighbor both have children with the same professional medical diagnosis, it does not mean that their IEPs will be exactly the same, even if they're at the same school, even if they have the same teacher. Okay, I see 5 to 6 children a day at the school that I work at, and they all have different IEPs. Okay, they're all labeled as autism, but they all have different IEPs. That's the point of an education, an IEP, is to be an individualized education plan. Okay. So now we're getting into the IEP team. Okay, so at this point, um, we're just going to discuss who makes up the IEP team. And the IEP team is used in various parts during the process. They're used during the eligibility eligibility process, excuse me. They're used for that to discuss evaluations and assessments, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But I just wanted to take a moment and discuss who is on the IEP team. So first and foremost, on the IEP team will be the parents of the child with a disability. You are your child's biggest advocate, so of course you have to be there. Do not allow anyone in the district to tell you, oh, you don't have to be here. It's not necessary, that you come to the meetings. Um, why wouldn't you want to be there? That's just my way to put it. It's important that you're there because you need to know what's going on with your child. The next person would usually be a regular education teacher, and that's if your child is still in a general education setting. Okay? If your child is still in a general education setting, regular public school, they will have their general education teacher as well as a special education teacher. So in this matter, both teachers would be a part of the IEP team. Now, if your child does not attend a general education program and is now in a non-public setting and receiving strictly special education services, then they will probably only have a special education teacher, and therefore that will be the only teacher on the team for your child. Okay. There will also be a representative of the local education agency, and this is someone that is um, able to meet the unique needs of the children with disabilities. They're well knowledge and well versed about the curriculum for the child and what program would work best for your child. They can make great recommendations about the program that would be appropriate for your child. Okay. Also, a person that can interpret the evaluation results. Okay, depending on what test is given, you need a professional there that can explain what those results mean and what it means for your child's programming. Okay. Also, at the discretion of you, the parent, or the agency, other individuals who have knowledge of your child's academic needs. This could be your speech pathologist, your occupational therapist, a behavior interventionist. It could also be a tutor if you're receiving outside services. These are all people that make up a team for your child. Now, again, as I stated, every school district is different. So there may be people on your team that I did not list. These are just some of the more common people on the team, on the IEP team that I listed here this evening. Okay. Okay, so let's get into our first two steps of the IEP process. Okay. Step one is the referral for special evaluation. Okay. This, there, as I stated, there are 5 important steps in the IEP process. Okay. This process gets rolling once you're in contact with Child Find. Okay. So IDEA mandates that the school districts take responsibility to find and evaluate students, and this process is called Child Find. So I really understand how frustrating it can be when you finally decide you want to reach out to the school to get an evaluation done, and then they say, oh, you need to contact Child Find. Trust me, I understand. I can only imagine how frustrating that is. However, this is the way to get the ball rolling. Okay? Now is not the time to get annoyed, stressed, upset, any of that. You're your child's biggest advocate, and we need you to stay focused at this time. This is just the beginning. You know, I wish I could say that it gets easier and less annoying as it goes on, but it does not. The only thing that will help you, however, and make it a little easier is being knowledgeable about what your child needs and having great resources available to answer any questions. Okay? By great resources, I mean people that are well versed and well knowledge of the IEP process, the eligibility process, and just special education altogether. Your child's teacher, that could be a good resource to start with, as well as the special educator at the school. Those are great people to start with, okay? So next I'm going to show you a sample letter that you can use or you can just get ideas from if you indeed need to request an evaluation, okay? So, of course, we know with the wonderful world of Google, there are other sample letters available online. I just use this one as a sample letter for families. And what I like about it is it reiterates that you are aware of your rights as a parent. If you look down at the second paragraph, it reads, I am formally requesting that the school immediately begin a special education evaluation. Since this process can take up to 60 days, I would like to receive my procedural safeguards and the evaluation plan explaining the tests that may be given to my child within 15 days. Once I consent to the evaluation, I would like to be informed of when the evaluation will be scheduled. Okay? That lets these people know that you are not joking around and you're very serious about your child's academic success. That lets them know, hey, no funny business. I do know what I'm talking about. And you should know what you're talking about. And if you don't know what you're talking about, make friends or form business relationships with someone that does. Okay? So as it stated there, the evaluation must be completed within 60 days of them receiving the written request. And after 15 days of getting your request, the school district should provide you with a copy of your and its assessment plan. Okay? You need to make sure that you keep a copy of this letter along with anything else that involves your child's IEP and special education, academic success programs. Anything you receive in the mail, anything they give you a letter of, keep it. Go ahead and set aside one place if it needs to be a file cabinet with a folder that you can put these things and it will always be there and you can always access it so that you're not scrambling for papers when it's time. Okay? Because according to what your child's IEP is based on and your child's actual level of functioning, you will need all of these things when your child gets ready to age out of school. So that's why it's important to hold on to everything as you start this process. Okay? The second part is understanding the evaluation. Okay? So the evaluation is a test. We don't know what test. The test can vary, okay, according to what they're looking for. Of course, they would not use the same assessment for someone being screened for autism as they would for someone being screened for dyslexia. Okay, you just need to remember that the IEP team, and an IEP being granted is based on one of those 13 special learning need from IDEA that we discussed earlier tonight. Okay. Now, during the evaluation, the assessment time, if your child's primary language is not English, they can have the test administered in their native language or through the use of a bilingual specialist. Okay. So this assessment that they give is going to measure areas of cognition, academics, and language skills, and it'll also measure things like social, emotional, and developmental findings. Okay. In your child's evaluation packet, it should always include student records, observations, state tests, work samples, interviews, anything that can really help prove your child's case. You know, you want to have all of these things if you're going to get the process rolling of having an eligibility meeting and evaluations done. I, I would think it's because you might have all of that stuff available to be added to the portfolio. Okay. Now, there are some possible outcomes of the eligibility meeting. Okay. So after all of the assessments are done and everyone comes back with their observations, notes, interviews, and all of this good stuff, the team could find that your child qualifies and you agree. If that is the case, you will then move forward with your school as they schedule an official IEP meeting. Okay, they have 30 days from saying yes, your child is eligible to get a written IEP down. Okay, when the IEP is formally written and go through the IEP meeting, it is now a legal document, and special education services can begin at that point. Nothing before that is required. There are no legal services or legal accommodations being made for your child prior to an actual IEP program being written. Now, the teacher, your child's teacher, could take it upon themselves to work with you and try some things out because, you know, we just don't want to waste valuable education time. However, as I stated, they don't have to. Legally, it's not required until an actual IEP is written for the child. Okay? This same team could also find that your child does not qualify for special education services, and now you agree. Okay? You may have, after all of the evaluations and testing and things all coming together, you and the team may have decided an IEP would be a bit extreme and maybe the child just, you know, could use some accommodations with making test taking a little easier or collecting notes in order to study for tests, things like that. So minor adjustments, minor accommodations or things that you would prefer. And that is when you would then go forward with the 504 process. Okay, and the IEP process will be done. You would now begin focusing on the 504 process. Now, if the team says that your child does not need services and you do not agree with that, you would move forward to requesting additional testing, or you could even request mediation and exercise your due process rights. If it goes this far, I would suggest that you go ahead and get in contact with a special needs advocate. Okay? Special education advocate does cost, and the school district does not pay for that. Um, the cost of a special education advocate varies. Um, I personally provide support to families, but if you would like an IEP advocate or a special education advocate to go forward with you with exercising your due process rights, again, you would need to be financially responsible for that. The rates there are programs available where special education advocates are available for relatively low cost or free sometimes. Again, you just have to look for those resources um, to find out which one best meets your needs for you and your child. Okay. It's also important to remember that during this meeting, you can bring anyone to the meeting that you feel would best help you in the case for you to win your case for your child. Okay? So once you determine which of these routes you will take, that will then determine how you will proceed with the IEP process. Okay? If you have any questions after viewing this, you can feel free to contact me on Facebook, Twitter. You could also contact me on Instagram. We take questions on there also. I'm also available via email. I would love to receive your questions and answer them to the best of my ability. I also provide consultations via Google Hangouts, as well as academic interventions. Again, I'm located in Maryland. However, according to what service you and your child needs, um, it won't matter where you're located. So just reach out to me. If I can't help you, I have an extensive network available of other educators that can certainly provide you with the assistance that you need. Okay? So I can be reached at any of this information listed. Again, like I said, on Facebook, activities for those kids on there. As a reminder, part two of the IEP process, where we will discuss the last three important steps of the IEP process. That will be held next Tuesday, February 24th at 8 p.m. Okay, I would greatly appreciate it if you could register by email. That way I could get the link to you instead of you having to search through the social media pages for it. Okay, again, my name is Whitney King. Thank you for joining us this evening. It is a pleasure um, discussing this with you. Once again, if you have any questions, I will gladly assist you. Have a great night.